Picture this. A sleek Indian scout, as black as a moonless night, matching the rider's jacket. This is no ordinary rider but the embodiment of the American dream, a man born to roam the open road. He's the older of two brothers, a free spirit with an adventurous streak as wide as the Grand Canyon. The Indian scout, the iconic symbol of his freedom, roars beneath him. It's more than a machine. It's a legacy passed down from their father, a beacon of rebellion and wanderlust. The bike's rumble is a tune familiar to their family, a rhythmic anthem that echoes their lineage of wild hearts and daring spirits. Their father, a man of grit and gallantry, was an adventurer himself, with the same American spirit hanging out of his mouth. He was a maverick, a trailblazer who rode his own path, the wind as his compass. This spirit, akin to a flame, was passed down to the elder brother, burning brighter with every rev of the Indian Scout's engine. The elder brother was no stranger to the call of the wild. The open road was his canvas, and every mile rode was a stroke of his free-spirited paintbrush. But as he kick-started his bike one fateful night, ready to embark on a journey into the unknown, he left behind more than just the comfort of his home. He left behind a trail of heartache, especially for their mother, whose heart shattered like a porcelain doll at the sight of her son disappearing into the horizon. Yet, despite the heartbreak, there was an undercurrent of anticipation. For the elder brother wasn't just heading out on a journey. He was chasing his dreams, fueled by the same passion that had driven their father. With his headlight pointing west, where the wild things are, he rode off, leaving a trail of heartache and anticipation, headed towards a destiny written in the stars. In the heart of the wild, the elder brother found his paradise. There, under the vast expanse of the Southern Californian sky, he discovered a life brimming with vibrancy and boundless freedom. The desert was his canvas, painted with the hues of the Joshua trees that rose majestically from the arid landscape, standing tall as symbols of endurance and resilience. His days were filled with captivating stories spun from the threads of his adventures. Stories of the sun setting behind the undulating sand dunes, of the stars that dotted the inky night sky like a handful of glitter tossed into the void. Stories of the people he met, the places he saw, and the experiences he gathered like precious gems in the treasure chest of his memory. Through it all, his constant companions were two seemingly mismatched possessions, an Airstream trailer and a J45 guitar. The trailer, a symbol of his wanderlust, carried him across the shifting sands of the desert, through the windy paths of the mountains, and down the bustling streets of the city. The guitar, on the other hand, was his voice, strumming tunes that echoed the rhythm of his heart, the melody of his spirit. Every couple of weeks he'd call up his younger brother, his voice crackling through the phone line, carrying with it the flavor of his experiences. It was through these conversations that the younger brother found himself drawn into the elder's world. The tales of the wild, the freedom, the thrill, painted a picture so enticing he could almost taste the desert dust, feel the Californian sun on his skin, and hear the strumming of the J45. The elder brother's words were an open invitation, an allure to the wild. His voice echoed through the phone, "Little brother, you'd love it out here, out where the wild things are." And with that, the seeds of a dream were sown in the younger brother's heart, a dream to join his elder brother in the call of the wild. The younger brother finally landed in LA, the city of dreams, ready to taste the wild. The moment he stepped off the plane, the air of freedom hit him. This was the place where his brother had found his wild spirit, where he had embraced the untamed life of an adventurer. With the excitement of the unknown pumping through his veins, he called his big brother from the back of the plane the second he made it. Together they started drinking on the Strip in LA, toasting to the wildlife, the freedom, the adventure. Underneath the neon lights, the city buzzed with life, and the brothers felt their spirits soar. As the night grew darker, their adventure only became wilder. They found themselves at a house in the hills, mingling with Hollywood stars, the elite of the city. The younger brother could hardly believe it. He was living the dream, the very dream his brother had been living all this while. It was a whirlwind of laughter, music, and stories. Stories that were as wild as the people telling them. Under the starry sky, the younger brother found himself kissing a blonde in a backyard pool. The water was cool against his skin, the night was warm, and his heart was wild. This was it. This was the life his brother had been talking about. The bond between the two brothers grew stronger with each passing moment. They were two wild spirits, two adventurers, two brothers living the American dream. Their shared love for adventure and freedom was as evident as the stars in the LA sky. In the backyard pool, under the starry sky, the younger brother truly understood what it meant to be out where the wild things are. It was a place of freedom, a place of adventure, a place where you could be yourself, without any inhibitions. It was a place where the nights ignited like gasoline, lighting up the streets that never slept. It was a place where the wild things were, and he loved it. As the summer wind blew, the younger brother knew it was time to leave the wild behind. The air was ripe with emotion as the two brothers stood facing each other, the elder's Indian scout gleaming in the background. The younger brother took a deep breath, tasting the familiar mix of freedom and recklessness that the wild had to offer. Yet he knew he couldn't stay. The wild was his elder brother's domain, his sanctuary, his home. The elder brother, a figure of untamed spirit and daring, was a creature of the wild. His love for his Indian scout was akin to a sailor's love for the sea. The black metal beast, a symbol of his free spirit, was as much a part of him as the American spirit hanging out of his mouth. His need for speed, his thirst for the thrill was insatiable. It was a dance with danger, an intoxicating waltz that he was unafraid to lead. The younger brother understood then, with a pang of sadness, that his elder brother would never leave the wild. The desert winds, the Joshua tree, the starlit nights, they all called out to him, a siren song he could never resist. His elder brother was a part of the wild, and the wild was a part of him. It was a bond, unbreakable and eternal. The farewell was filled with unspoken words and promises. The younger brother looked into the elder's eyes, seeing the reflection of the wild, the Indian scout, and the endless road ahead. He knew then that he was leaving his elder brother in the place he loved the most, the place he belonged. It was a farewell of two brothers, of two paths diverging in the wilderness, of an end and a beginning. The younger brother, with a heavy heart and a promise to return, bade farewell to his elder brother, leaving him with his beloved Indian scout. The elder brother, with a smile and a nod, watched his younger brother leave, ready to answer the call of the wild once again. With a heavy heart, the younger brother bade farewell, leaving the elder brother with his Indian scout, out where the wild things are. The nights ignited like gasoline, but one night was different. The wild had a different call that night, a call that echoed with an eerie silence. A silence that was broken only by the news that sent a shiver down the spine of the younger brother. The elder, the rebel, the dreamer, had met with a tragic accident. His Indian scout, the steed that carried his dreams and ambitions, had hit a guardrail at high speed. The news was like a thunderbolt out of a clear sky, a bolt that shattered the younger brother's world. The phone calls that once carried tales of the desert, the Joshua tree, and the pretty girl stories were now replaced with grim conversations about the accident. The Indian scout, which was once a symbol of freedom and rebellion, was now an emblem of a tragic end. The wild that was once alluring now seemed menacing. The stars that once inspired dreams now only reminded him of his brother's untamed spirit. The streets that never slept had now claimed the life of a dreamer. The younger brother's perception of the wild had changed forever. It was no longer a place of dreams and possibilities, but a place that had claimed his brother's life. Yet, amidst the grief and sorrow, the younger brother found a new understanding of the wild. It wasn't just a place, but a state of mind, a spirit that lived within each of us. The wild was his brother's spirit of rebellion, his passion for life, his thirst for adventure. It was the spark that ignited the nights like gasoline, the flame that lit up the streets of the city. The elder brother lit up the streets one last time, leaving behind a legacy of dreams and rebellion. His spirit roared in the wind, echoing in the streets, resonating in the hearts of those who dared to dream, to rebel, to venture into the wild. His final ride wasn't an end, but a beginning, a spark that would ignite countless dreams, a flame that would light up the wild for generations to come. Under the West Coast stars, they laid the elder brother to rest. The air was heavy with the scent of damp earth and the promise of a new dawn. His spirit, as untamed as the land that he loved, had finally found its way home, to the wild. The younger brother stood alone, his heart heavy with grief. The echo of the elder's laughter, the roar of the Indian scout, the shared dreams and wild adventures, all seemed to hang in the air, like a haunting melody that refused to fade. The void left by his brother was as vast and gaping as the desert they once roamed. His absence a constant, aching reminder of an era that had ended too soon. The funeral was a somber affair, an emotional tribute to a life lived on the edge. Friends and family gathered, their stories painting a vivid picture of a man who lived by his own rules, who sought adventure at every turn, and who loved as fiercely as he rode. The younger brother listened, his heart swelling with pride and breaking with sorrow in equal measure. The significance of the location was not lost on him. This was where the elder brother belonged, amidst the wild things, under the blanket of the vast, star-studded sky. This was where he felt most alive, where he was free to ride the wind and chase the horizon. This was where he found his purpose, his peace, and ultimately, his end. As the last words of the eulogy echoed in the still air, the younger brother looked up at the West Coast stars. They twinkled back like 1,000 fireflies, each one a memory, a moment, a part of the elder brother that would forever live on. He closed his eyes, his heart filled with a mix of pain and peace. His brother was finally home. They buried him out in the wind, 'neath the West Coast stars, out where the wild things are. The elder brother's spirit still roams the wild, living on through his stories and dreams. He left behind a legacy of adventure, a love for the open road, and a spirit that could never be tamed. His Indian Scout, as black as his jacket, was more than just a bike. It was an extension of his soul, a symbol of his freedom, a companion on his journey into the wild. This elder brother, he was a force of nature, a rebel with an American spirit hanging out of his mouth. He lived his life like a wild, untamed song, full of hearts on fire and crazy dreams. He was the embodiment of the American dream, the epitome of the wild spirit. And though he's gone, his spirit lives on, in the roar of every Indian Scout that hits the open road, in the heart of every adventurer who feels the call of the wild. His younger brother, the one left behind, carries these stories, these dreams, this legacy. He remembers the nights that ignited like gasoline, the streets that never slept, the wild things. He remembers the laughter, the camaraderie, the shared bottles of spirit under the West Coast stars. He remembers the promise of adventure, the allure of the unknown, the thrill of the ride. And he remembers the final goodbye, the heartbreak, the loss. Yet in the face of this loss, he finds strength, a sense of purpose. He realizes that his elder brother's spirit lives on, not just in his memories, but in the world around him. In every desert sunset, every Joshua tree, every wild thing, he sees his brother. He hears his brother in the strum of the J45 guitar, feels his presence in the Airstream trailer, senses his spirit on the open road. In the heart of the wild, under the West Coast stars, the elder brother's spirit lives on, out where the wild things are. His legacy, his dreams, his love for adventure, they continue to inspire, to shape, to guide. They remind us all to live fully, to chase our dreams, to embrace the wild within us. In the heart of the wild, under the West Coast stars, the elder brother's spirit lives on, out where the wild things are.